associated with the Freeman movement. Are you linked to them?
No, I mean, that's nonsense that you hear on the internet. I mean, I don't know where they get that from.
But you've been involved in protecting people, as you see it, who are being evicted from their homes, and you talk about those who turn up to evict people as being somebody who calls himself a sheriff. Now, that sort of language would come from the Freeman movement, wouldn't it?
No, I didn't do that. So if you actually watch the video, there's none of that in it. That's what people say about me. I suppose people who oppose what I do. I never used any language like that. All I said was in that video that when the sheriff came, he said he was the sheriff. Right? He wasn't the sheriff. He was the assistant sheriff. No, absolutely not. I've never been involved in any politics before, any Freeman movement, any of that nonsense. I actually think most of it's nonsense, to be honest. But people will just say
not
things
nonsense enough, though, to run for election in this local...
Yeah, but not as a Freeman movement. I mean, I only heard recently of what a Freeman movement was. I mean, we are direct democracy.
And I think this was glossed over in some of the interviews you've done, not by you, I might add, but by the presenters and the other interviews, where they just glossed over the legal versus lawful aspect of things.
Yeah.
They didn't seem to question you when you mentioned it any time. So I'd like to give you an opportunity to give your understanding of what you believe to be the difference between legal and that which is lawful.
Well, the difference between legal and lawful is legal is something that a legislator writes, and lawful would be something that would agree with the laws of the land. So, you know, a lot of people think legal and lawful is the same, but it's a huge difference between legal and lawful. So, I mean, a lot of, like, I had an argument with a barrister one time, and we sat down, and she said to me, I told her, like, acts and statutes don't really apply to me unless I want them to apply to me. And she said, that's the greatest load of nonsense she ever heard. And I said, okay, so you tell me how it works in your world. And she said, the legislator makes the law, and we all have to agree to it. And I said, all right. I said, can you explain then the difference between a dictator and a republic? And she couldn't.
Well, now, there's an interesting question. When I was out doing the talks alongside Darrell O'D, quite regularly I would stand at the top of the room full of people and I'd say, okay, who here knows what a democracy is? I have a little demonstration I do. I call it 100-man island, and I'll do it again. It only takes a second. I'll do it again just to give people an idea where I'm coming from. Yeah. So I would draw a 10 by 10 square on the whiteboard. Yeah. And I'd say, okay, here's 100-man island. 100 men. How would we know if it was a democracy? Well, if 51 of the men vote, men or women, 51% of the men vote, it becomes law for everyone. That's what's considered a true democracy. Mm-hmm. And then I would say to everybody, now, what would make it a republic? And almost nobody knew.
Yeah.
And the way a republic is supposed to work is it's supposed to be by a 2/3 majority. So in other words, 67 of the 100 would have to vote in favour, and then it would become law for everyone.
Yeah.
Now, interestingly, then, we have what we call a democratic republic, which is supposedly what the Oireachtas is. Most people, I don't think, understand where the Republic of Ireland actually is. That's actually retained by them in there. In other words, we, the people out here, we have the 49%, 51% vote, and they keep the 2/3 majority for themselves in there.
All right.
You see, the people we don't live in the Republic. The politicians are in the Republic. We're in the democracy, if you will.
Yeah.
Now, then you have the next level, which would be what I call a commercial democracy, whereby 51% of the voter turnout apparently is accepted to swing the vote. So on 100-man island, I say, even if only 10 men showed up to vote, if 6 men voted yes in the democratic process, it's law for everybody. If it was a republic, a commercial republic, only 7 out of the 10 would have to vote, and it's law for everybody. And then I explain a sovereign republic is even if 99 of the 100 men vote yes for something, it's a law for all of them, and it's not for the one guy who voted no. That's a true sovereign republic.
That's correct.